welcome everyone to Shadow of Truth, and we have Mr. Gerald Celente on the line today, and we would like to encourage everyone to sign up for the Trends Journal, which is one of the best publications that is on the marketplace today. And Mr. Celente has been covering trends, future trends, for well over 30 years now, and considered by many, including myself, to be the foremost forecaster in the world. And it is a great honor and a great pleasure to have him on the line today. And of course, your hosts are Dave Kranzler from Investment Research Dynamics. And my name is Rory Hall, and I'm with thedailycoin.org. Without any further ado, we welcome Mr. Gerald Celente.
Hello, Rory and Dave. Thanks for having me on.
Well, thanks for being here. We certainly appreciate you taking time out today to spend with us, and it's a great honor to speak with you.
Oh, thank you. I know I have a Nashville story. Do you remember John J. Hooker?
I do.
Well, John J. Hooker and I were friends, and I had written the book Trend Tracking back in the middle 80s, and I get a call from John J. Hooker from Tennessee. And anyway, to make a very long story short, John Connally, the former governor of Texas, of course, the man who was sitting in front of Kennedy, took the bullet in the back, wanted to meet me. And John J. Hooker arranged it. So first I flew down to Nashville, and then we flew over to Dallas and had lunch with John Connally, his wife Nellie. And I have a photograph of me and John Connally and his wife Nellie in front of the book depository. And it was their first time back. This is 1992, since the assassination of Kennedy. And we're walking back into the Anatole Hotel, and Connally looks at me and he said, "I read your book." This is after we were at the book depository. And he said, "I read your book, Trend Tracking." He said, "It's a fine piece of work." He said, "And I know your heart's in the right place." He said, "But you don't have a clue what's going on in government, and neither do the American people, because if they did, there'd be a revolution in this country." And that was back in 92. And I had told Hooker after the meeting, we were in a limousine. I was sitting across from Connally. We were in the back seat. And it was me, Hooker, and Pat Cadell, the pollster. He was doing polling for Perot back then. And Nellie, his wife, Connally's wife, and John Connally. And I said to Hooker later on, I said, Connally's going to die soon. And he goes, "Gerald, my boy, what would make you say that?" And I said, "I've seen the movie before." Connally was suffering from his lung was blown open from the gunshot wound. And he was suffering, he was having problems, many years later from it. And they had him on heavy doses of prednisone. So I could see his hands, they had all these big purple splotches in them. And my father, may his soul rest in peace, died of asbestos poisoning from working in the shipyards during World War II. And they had him on prednisone. He had lung problems as well. So I could see, his stiffening of the gait. I'd seen the movie play before. So Connally and I stayed in contact from that October to around February, and then he died in April of the next year. So anyway, that's my John J. Hooker story.
Well, he was an interesting character. I know that. I mean,
what a guy! He was fun. He was a straight man, I'll tell you. He was against campaign financing. He despised what was going on, and we had a wonderful relationship.
Well, that's why he wasn't very well liked around here. He's trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Well, Gerald, that's an incredible story. It's kind of that quote that you quoted from Connally about there being a revolution if Americans really knew what was going on in government. It's kind of ominous.
No,
well, I know that part of your research is suggesting that you're kind of expecting a big event this year. And I was wondering if you could share with us, what you think might trigger a stock market crash, especially given that we know the stock market is so completely divorced from any kind of underlying fundamentals.
I'm going to read you something this is from a Trends Journal. I was doing some research last night. Well, the Trends Journal just came out last week. every month we do a Trends Monthly. And my column in the Trends Monthly, which is going out on Wednesday, is it's called USA. We've gone neo-feudalism, democracy's dead. But this is from a Trends journal in the summer of 2009, and it's quoting a trend alert I did on September 22nd, 2008. And here's the headline: DC heist. Wall Street gang hijacks Washington. On the evening of September 18th, 2008, the American democratic system was replaced by a financial dictatorship. What was billed as a federal bailout was nothing less than a bloodless coup. The Wall Street gang had taken over the White House and control of Washington. Congress promised not to resist and pledged to pass legislation as demanded. Warning that America's financial system was perilously close to collapse unless immediate action was taken, economic martial law was declared. The American people were told that from this day forward, they would be responsible for paying off the bad debt from any failing private financial enterprise deemed, quote, too big to fail. That's how it begins. Now remember, this is 2008. It's a financial takeover. We've turned into a neo-feudal country. Look what happened last week when 5 banks admitted to committing felonies and were charged with felonies. Not one head rolled. Nobody. None of the big banksters go to jail. But I'll tell you what, Rory and Dave, if you go over that yellow line when you're driving, pull over. Where'd you come from? Did you have anything to drink? And if you did, walk a straight line. Stand on one foot and repeat the alphabet backwards. And don't give me any back talk. But rob billions from the people, destroy the nation, and they get a free ride. Don't get caught with any crack, you'll do 15 years to life. 3 strikes, you're out. You got caught for shoplifting. But steal the entire nation, rob it blind, and the neo-feudal system where the nobility have become the entitled rich, they get a free ride. Can't pay that child support? Go to jail. That's what's happened in this country. It's in front of everybody's eyes, and the people lack the courage to stand up and speak out and fight against what's going on. This is a neo-feudal society where our amendment rights have been robbed from us. The Constitution has been shredded. And what do? They got a separate set of laws for the financial elite and the politically connected.
It is ridiculous. And if you do step out, or if you happen to get smart with one of these authorities, you better be ready to get pepper sprayed, because I'm sure that they'll be more than happy to accommodate that.
Yeah, pepper sprayed, or get your brains blown out,
Yeah.
or get the crap beat out of you. But
Yeah.
yet yet these tough guys and all their military gear who harass us for every little thing. How about going after the big guys? Oh, are you afraid? Are you afraid of going after the big guys? But you go after us in the same Trends journal, by the way. Again, this is a summer edition, 2009. I wrote a story about, it's called To Pee or Not to Pee. And I wrote about how, they only go after us. And I said, is this an exaggeration? Hardly. The following is an explanatory letter written by Gerald Celente to the Gallatin Court in New York in response to summons number LW657483-1 issued to him. I wrote this to the court: to pee or not to pee. On Monday, July 12th, I was traveling west on my way home to Rhinebeck. I pulled off the side of the county road, Route 6. I had to relieve myself. Now, this is a country rural road, late at night, 10:30 at night, on a little windy country road. I pull off, and a cop is coming the other way, a state trooper. He said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Your car break down?" I said, "No, man, I got to go into the woods to take a leak." "Don't you move." He pulls his car behind me, and that was the beginning of the harassment. He accused me of going to see somebody else in the woods, or else I was hiding something there. This SOB harassed me for 45 minutes and would not allow me to go to the bathroom. I wrote about it in black and white. So you asked me what kind of things are going to bring down the economic system. I would look at geopolitical events, and one of them is what's going on in Yemen. All of my lifetime, I never remember Saudi Arabia going to war. And by the way, the Wahhabi Saudis, I mean, they match ISIS really well. Oh, you talk about ISIS beheading people? Already this year, the Saudis have knocked off the heads of 87. They ran an ad. It was even in the New York Times. I'm not making this up. They're looking for people to do beheadings and amputees. A job opportunity for any American out there that can't find work. You might want to go to Saudi Arabia. They're bombing Yemen into oblivion. This is the poorest country in the Middle East. Obama has given more armaments to the Arab League than Bush 3 times over during the same amount of time. And now they're putting these weapons to use. The Houthis, who they are against, and by the way, they just made up these countries after World War I. The Sykes-Picot plan. You know, a Frenchman and an Englishman. Give me a T-square and a ruler. We're going to make some countries up. We'll call this one Saudi Arabia. Put this little low-life puppet in place. We'll call him a king. Yeah, we'll make up a story. I got it. The princess kissed the frog. The frog became a king, and now we'll call him royalty. We'll call it Saudi Arabia. We'll invent Jordan. We'll invent Syria. It was the breakup of the Ottoman Empire. Anyway, now these crazy people are using these armaments, slaughtering people, and the Houthis, who have been fighting with the Saudis for, decades, now they're saying that they're going to retaliate. You have 4 million Yemenis living in Saudi Arabia. And a lot of them work in the oil fields. And they're saying that they're also going to attack the monarchy. So if we have an event like that destabilizes Saudi Arabia and other places in the Middle East, that could be the wild card event that destabilizes and brings down the Ponzi scheme that has been invented by the bankers with their 0% interest rates, unlimited quantitative easing, whether it's the United States, whether it's Europe, whether it's the UK, or whether it's China or Japan. It's one big Ponzi scheme, and it's going to, I believe, take an outside event to bring down the financial house of cards.
Just a few days ago, there was a non-U.S. NATO general, not a general, but he was a NATO official, senior NATO official, non-U.S., who was saying that by summer we would be in war. And if we're lucky, quote, if we're lucky, it won't be nuclear.
Huh.
And how do you see a comment like that tying into, we've already got Jade Helm running all over the country over here. What do you see with that? I mean, are we going to be in war by summer?
We're in war. And by the way, not one war has been declared since World War II in the United States. The presidents are just taking us to these foreign invasions and entanglements without we the people having any say in it. Look what they've done to Syria. Go back to last September, last August. Obama hits the stage. We're going to save them Yazidis on the mountain over there in Iraq from being slaughtered by the radical fundamentalists, ISIS. But no boots on the ground. Yeah, except the 3,000 that they have there already. And we're not going to call them boots on the ground. We'll call them advisors. Yeah, like Vietnam. That's all they were, advisors. And 58,000 Americans were killed there, 250,000 seriously wounded, and millions of lives ruined both here and over there. 3 million Vietnamese killed on a war based on more lives, like this one. So, Rory, I would suggest that we're already in war. We're bombing Syria. We had troops on the ground in Syria. We're back in Iraq. Afghanistan is out of control, as is Iraq. We're seeing the United States is involved in the Yemen war that Saudi Arabia, by the way, launched from the United States. That's right. On March 26th, from Washington, D.C., the people's capital, the Saudi ambassador to the United States announced from our city, that is the capital of our country, that Saudi Arabia was going to attack Yemen. And then we heard our Assistant Secretary of State, this guy Blinky, over in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, saying that we are providing logistical, reconnaissance, air fueling, arms and ammunitions in support of Saudi Arabia bombing innocent people throughout Yemen. So I wonder why they hate us. I can't figure it out. Well, I'll tell you why, little boys and girls. They hate our freedom and liberty. And everybody buys the BS. It couldn't be that you're slaughtering people all over the world and they want to get even with you. It couldn't be that you're occupying foreign nations that done nothing to you. Hey, how about that Nobel Peace Prize winner? How about a piece of crap that invaded, destroyed, and created the instability in Libya that Obama did? And brought to you with the help of Hillary Clinton, Samantha Rice, and Susan Powers. Oh, if only the women were in charge. Yeah, it's not about men or women, race, creed, or color. Psychopaths and sociopaths come in all races, creeds, colors, and religions.
Yes, they do. And the tagline for my website, Mr. Celente, is setting brush fires of freedom in the minds of man, which is a portion of that great quote from Samuel Adams, which states, "It does not take a majority to prevail, but rather an irate, tireless minority, keen on setting brush fires of freedom in the minds of men." With everything that you've just described and the criminals that are just being exposed at every turn, but no one going to jail, what is it going to take in order for the tireless minority, and I would include the three of us in that minority, what is it going to take to create change in a more positive, create a more positive world for us to live in?
That's a great quote. I never heard that one. And who's that by?
Samuel Adams. It's my favorite quote. I've kept it attached to my desk for well over 10 years now.
That's a great one. I'm going to write that one down. Well, I would take another quote. How we can do it?
How can we do it?
Well, Benjamin Franklin. If we don't hang together, surely we'll hang separately. And that's what we need to do. We all have to unify. We're all doing pieces of it, but we're not all doing it together. And to me, that's what it's going to take. And part of that effort is what we're going to be doing on September 20th over here in colonial Kingston, New York, on the most historic four corners in the United States. It's the only place where there are pre-Revolutionary War stone buildings on each corner. We're launching Occupy Peace. And that's a big part of the New Trends Journal. It just came out. It's based again on the Founding Fathers. No foreign entanglements, beginning with George Washington, a real commander-in-chief. Not like these little chicken hawks who talk tough and have the cojones the size of mothballs. I'm the commander-in-chief. Yeah, I drive a pickup truck, play golf, shoot pool, and a couple of rounds of basketball. Here you had Washington, who led the troops, and his farewell address, no foreign entanglements. Adams, Jefferson, Franklin, Madison, every one of the founding fathers, no foreign entanglements. And the world was at war back then. And just the weaponry is different. So people use the excuse, it was different. No, it wasn't. So to me, how do we do it? I believe the first call is to rebuild America. And that is by bringing home the troops, closing down the foreign bases, sealing the borders. We have enough people. We can't take care of who we have already. And we're going to bring in more cheap labor, take care of ourselves, rebuild America, put back in place trade laws, tariffs, and acts that protected us from the neo-feudal system of nobility, economic noblemen, and political elites from robbing us. Put the troops to work rebuilding America, a Work Projects Administration program, a WPA program that has the troops rebuilding our infrastructure, our bridges, our rotted rail system, doing trade with ourselves. It all begins at home. Look at us, a country of 315 million people, and we can't make our own shoes or shirts or pants or cell phones or computers. It's a sellout. So to me, there is a solution, and it begins with peace, because with peace comes prosperity. And I'm not a pacifist. I'm a close combat practitioner. I had my own school for many years. And if anybody tries to kill me, I'll kill them first.
Amen.
So I'm not talking about, peace and love. No, you stay away don't come into my house. I won't go into yours. And if you come into my house, I'll blow your brains out. So I don't want anybody coming into my house of America. And I'm not going into your house in Syria or in Lebanon. I don't want to support any other country with my money. If they're in need of true humanitarian need, like there's an earthquake or some kind of tragedy, count me in. But I don't want to fight your battles. I got my own to fight. I'm an American. And I honor thy founding fathers. Marco Rubio. Can you imagine this little boy talking tough? Lindsey Graham. Oh, yeah, Lindsey, you're going to show him how to fight. Hey, Teddy Cruz. Oh, yeah, what a tough little boy you are. And I'm sick of these people throwing out God's name, playing the evangelical God card. What God are you talking about? Not the Prince of Peace that I was taught to love and obey.
It's incredible the way that these people abuse every single aspect of our lives, including, like what you were just saying, including God and Christ. It's all about the dough. It's all about the money and all about the power.
Yep. Money and power.
The worst offender of them all is Hillary Clinton. She's a traitor to the country. She sold out the office of the Secretary of State. She's committed crimes. She's destroyed evidence. She should be under indictment in front of a jury or maybe even a firing squad right now. Instead, she's running for president, and she has something like 45% of the support from the Democrats. I mean, it's outrageous.
To me, yeah, I agree with you. And again, this Trends Journal that I was just relating to, this summer issue 2009, the headline was Obamageddon. And we showed how Obama lied his way into office by playing the liberal card, how he came out and he was going to be against NAFTA, and how he won over the Rust Belt. And then we had a quote about, how the Canadians were upset about it, and his aide called the ambassador to the United States and said that was only campaign rhetoric, and that he wasn't going to do anything to change NAFTA. And now they shoved down our throat. He did the Trans-Pacific Partnership that they're fast-tracking along with the Republicans. So Hillary's doing the same thing. And yes, Hillary should be brought up on trial, and so should Bush and Cheney and Powell and Rumsfeld and Wolfowitz, all of them, who lied us into the Iraq War. I want to know who knew what when. So I believe where are the war crime tribunals? Yes, Hillary with Libya and all the lies, Dave, that you said that she said, they all should be brought up. And every one of these politicians should be tried for treason if they get elected and don't do what they said they were going to do. If they give it every effort to do it and Congress kills it, that's different. But when they backtrack like Barack does, hey, my first day in office, I'm going to close Guantanamo. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to sweep Washington clean when I get elected. Oh, yeah, real clean sweep. What, he brought in Bush's team and Clinton's team.
Yep.
So they should be tried for treason. But it goes back to what Rory's saying. How do we do it? And again, that Franklin phrase keeps popping in my brain. If we don't hang together, surely we will hang separately. We have to unify our forces under a common goal and not lose sight of that goal. You know, just a little background. I began my career running political campaigns in Westchester County, and which was the richest county in the country back then in the early 70s. And from there, I was so good at it, they sent me up to Albany, and I was the assistant to the Secretary of the New York State Senate. And I designed and taught American politics and campaign technology at St. John's University. And from there, I was a chief government affairs specialist for a section of the chemical industry from 74 to 79. I was living between D.C. and Chicago. And, you know, I know how this stuff is done. I used to kill environmental legislation, you know. Yeah, you know, I was a kid, you know, I was growing up, and, you know, you learn in life. And then that's when I quit. I quit in 1980 and began the Trends Research Institute. One day I said to myself, what am I doing here? And I just quit. But anyway, I know how this is done. And if people could know that the only thing behind the curtain is the Wizard of Oz, they would see how easy it is to defeat them. I had a conversation. He writes for us and is a dear friend. And matter of fact, he will also be attending our Occupy Peace conference that we're having in September. September 20th is the launch day of Occupy Peace, but the conference begins 3 days earlier, is Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, who I'm sure you're all familiar with, and the former Assistant Treasury Secretary under Reagan, and he writes for us in the Trends Journal. One night we're speaking, and I said to him, Craig, I'm looking at the New York Times, and here's Obama's national security team. I said, look at these clowns. I said, are they making decisions? Or is something else going on behind the scenes? Now remember, this is Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, former Assistant Treasury Secretary under Ronald Reagan, highly respected, and he could and did, when he was with the administration, call up the director of the CIA and question him under oath. This is the level we're talking about. So I ask him this question. Again, are these the clowns making the decision, or is something else going on behind the scenes? Rory and Dave, what would you say?
Somebody behind the scenes.
Definitely something behind the scenes.
He said to me, Gerald, everybody wants to think it's something going on behind the scenes. They don't want to, they're afraid to admit that what they see is what they get. He said, these are the people making the decisions. He said, are there outside pressures and different? He said, of course there are. But these are the people ultimately defining the strategy and setting the policy into motion. It's a freak show. And by the way, that's the cover of this Trends Journal. It's called the Cowards, Liars, Freaks, and Fools. Welcome to the Presidential Reality Show.
And it is a great Trends Journal. And for those that have not that aren't subscribers, I would highly recommend subscribing. And Mr. Celente, I want to thank you for all your time. And if you would, just kind of introduce people to the Trends Journal and tell them how they can get in touch with you.
Sure, they could go to trendsresearch.com, trendsresearch.com. They get the Trends Journal, which is a quarterly publication. You can buy it in print or digital. The print, by the way, it's 54 pages, full color, highest quality. There's no magazine like it in the world. It's history before it happens. And we also do Trends in the News each weekday night, 15-minute news broadcasts of the real trends to put you ahead of the news and on top of the trends. Trends Monthly, again, one going out this week, and this week's trends, another, we highlight the top trend of the week, and all for $99 a year for the digital subscription, $185 for hard copy, plus all the other features I mentioned. We have conferences here. And Rory, I really want to go back to what you said.
Okay.
And that's that Madison quote.
Samuel Adams.
Adams, excuse me. And you said, how can we do it? And again, we have to join together as I see it. You know, I've been around for quite some time in life now. As Dr. Paul Craig Roberts said, what you see is what you get. It's the Wizard of Oz. And we, the people, deserve the best. And we should not be being ruled by a financial oligarchy or the Bloods and the Crips, better known as the Republicans and Democrats, gangs that slaughter millions of people around the world in the names of freedom and democracy and steal our money in the names of too big to fail, tax breaks, loan guarantees, and special favors for their friends. So to me, you know, this is a very important interview because you really put things into perspective as to what do we do to move forward with peace, grace, prosperity, and dignity. And it's joining together as I see it.
And I couldn't agree with you more. And I think that, I mean, we're engulfed in gloom and doom and everything that we've discussed. And until we begin seriously approaching solutions, these criminals that you have done an incredible job of describing will continue to enslave us. They will continue to murder us, and they will continue to steal everything that is not nailed down. We have got to begin living the solution, period.
Amen. And you know, if you ever come to Colonial Kingston, New York, you'll see in front of all our buildings, we have beautiful plants outside, artwork everywhere. We try to put more beauty. To us, beauty is the antidote to fear. And so that's what we try to do. And we keep stepping it up every notch we can, putting plants and trees outside and beautifying the area and beautifying our lives at the same time.
Well, that sounds awesome. Dave, is there anything else?
Whew, I can't think of anything else. Gerald, thanks so much for your time. You've been more than generous. This has been a phenomenal session and very educational also.
Well, thank you so much, and all the best, guys, and thank you for all that you're doing.
Thank you for everything, and I hope that we can do this again soon. And I'll send you that quote from Samuel Adams. That way you can incorporate it into the Occupy piece.
It's perfect. It's the perfect quote.
All right.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.